Hi there guys, welcome back. This week I've got a question for you. Do you feel like you're creating art that isn't 100% you? Does it feel like a bit of a problem? The good news is it doesn't need to be a problem. In fact, it can be a good thing as long as what you're working on isn't the masterpiece, the thing that has to be the most amazing representation of your true artist self. If you can shift your mindset, and this is what we're going to be talking about in this video, you can shift our mindset so that it takes the pressure off and gives us the space and time that we need to find our voice as unique and original artists, then it's okay if the artwork that we're doing doesn't feel 100% like us, because it's just a stepping stone to the next one. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing a story from one of the wonderful artists that I work with. And her story is particularly inspiring because after several setbacks, Sonia found herself again through her art. And I can't wait to share her story with you. So before we get to Sonia, I'd like to go back a little to this really important mindset shift. And best way to describe it is to go from masterpiece to many pieces. Instead of focusing on one piece of artwork, we're seeing the piece of artwork that we're doing as the stepping stone to the next one, seeing it as a longer, exciting, creative process where we allow our voice to slowly reveal itself to us, allow it to slowly emerge. And a really good little anecdote to illustrate this process is the one of the painting class. It's been told in many different forms. I've heard it as a pottery class, a photography class. The medium doesn't really matter. What matters is the point. So let's say it's a painting class and the teacher sets 50% of the class a task by the end of the term to create the perfect painting. And the other 50% of the class, the teacher sets the assignment to create 50 paintings. So the students go off and begin working. And as you can imagine, the 50% of the class that are asked to make a perfect painting, well, they say, the deadline's a few months away, don't have to really do much about that. There's one or two of them that are like really excited to get the perfect painting, so they really start putting all of their eggs into that basket, and they get their big canvas and they start composing their masterpiece. And the 50% that have been asked to do 50 paintings, they're like, oh my gosh, I've got to do 50 paintings. Right, well, I better get cracking. And they start. And as the weeks go by, the students in this half of the class, they've done maybe 10, 20 paintings. And you can imagine how much they will be learning about themselves. And they'll be having some hits, some misses. Maybe to begin with, all of them are misses. But they're beginning to get an idea of who it is that they might want to be as artists. Whereas the majority of the 50% of the class that have been set the task of creating the perfect painting, most of them are just stressing out about how impossible this task is. How am I going to do this? They're stuck in their heads, and they're like, how am I going to get this vision that I have of the perfect painting out onto the canvas, because I've got this one shot. Meanwhile, back on the other 50% of the class, they're just continuing to paint, and getting a clearer and clearer idea of what it is that they like and what it is that they don't like. And let's say, you've got a 1 in 10 chance of producing a piece of artwork that feels really aligned with who you are as a person. So you need to create, at least for this to make sense, you'd need to create at least 10 pieces of artwork for one to be successful. If we apply the same maths to those students that have been asked to do one, then there's no chance. Maybe a tenth of the canvas might be working. But yes, you'll be seeing the point by now that those students that were tasked with creating 50 pieces of artwork were given the best chances of success, of finding their voice as artists through practice. And this is where we come to this very, very important skill of practice, seeing it as more of a creative process rather than an end. Rather than going for the masterpiece, we're going for many pieces that will help us slowly over time to realize who it is that we want to become through our art. So the skill that we're talking about today is practice. And within practice, one of the most important practices is practicing being inspired. So contrary to the popular idea of how an artist is inspired, like some epiphany or bolt of lightning from above, it is super, super important to scrunch that up, throw that idea out. It really isn't about sitting around waiting to be inspired, because if we do that, then we're going to go months, years, just saying, oh, I'm just not inspired, and we're just going to feel miserable. Sitting around waiting to be inspired, because if we do that, then we're going to go months, years, just saying, oh, I'm just not inspired, and we're just going to feel miserable. Sitting around waiting to be inspired, because if we do, so really we want to see inspiration as a skill that we can practice. So not waiting around for it, not every now and again hunting for it. We want to cultivate it. So if you think back to the last video where we were talking about focus and how important that is, and the framework for focus being the working artist statement, helping us to get clarity on the values in our life and the values in art and the kind of feelings and emotions we want to connect with through our art, getting clarity on that. Now we've got a lens through which we can begin to practice being inspired, to farm our inspirations. So what I'm about to share is a little snippet from a conversation that Sonia and I had around her artwork.
It just gave me different avenues to explore, but not all of those, I mean, they were useful at the time, because what they showed me was, no, I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm about.
And it's led to this series of artwork that you've done for the summer exhibition. And you know, I look at it and I say, like, wow, these much more aligned pieces of artwork with your values. I mean, how did you, so you were talking about how you did a lot of work where your eventual conclusion that you came to was that it wasn't really floating your boat and it wasn't aligned with what you really care about. Was there a particular moment, or when you realized this isn't working for me and this is what I need to do?
Yes, there was, because and it was after I'd done the little scribbly sketches about the sort of whimsical mushrooms, because my theme was mushrooms. And I'd done this series of, and I thought that's what I was going to do. And I kept looking at it and thinking, there's just something that's not quite right. And I was racking my brains, and then I thought, you know what? It's not me. It's just not me. And I thought, I've got to be authentic to me. And although they were nice pictures, and actually I've handed those on because my sister loved them, so she's now got them. She's now got them. It was, I'd sort of come like full circle with it. I tried lots of different ideas and images, and some of them I hadn't shared on the hub, but and then I thought, no, I like looking at things in more detail, because my background is horticulture, and I'd done botany and everything like that, and I loved all of that, Yeah. But it just, that sort of aspect that I'd looked at that time, suddenly the penny dropped. No, I need to go back to the start and look at things in more detail, how I like to produce art.
Yeah. I just feel so energized watching that clip, because it's just such a wonderful example of how, if you cast your net wide and you give yourself that time and space to get clarity on who it is you want to be through your artwork, then really amazing things can happen. I mean, sometimes it's like, as artists, we're like gardeners experimenting with a new patch of land, and only through this exploration further afield do we begin to appreciate even more deeply the beautiful, fertile land that we've come from. I feel like this is the experience that Sonia has had with her artwork. She's given herself permission to explore further afield, and through doing so gained a really wonderful perspective on her core identity as someone who really loves nature.
I think probably as a closing statement, what this has done is made me look at who I am. I'd lost that for quite a long time because of various reasons, but it sort of almost in a way made me find myself again. Yeah, it's sort of exploring who you are, now knowing who you are, and then moving forward. Yeah.
Okay, so quick recap. So to get closer to what it is that we want to connect with through our art, there's this useful mindset shift going from wanting this piece to be the masterpiece and putting all our eggs in this one basket, through to saying, okay, look, instead of the masterpiece, let's call it many pieces. Take the pressure off, say, it's okay if one or two of the artworks that I create are really off the mark and they don't really connect, they don't resonate with me. That's fine, because they're just a stepping stone to the next one. And eventually, in good time, I'll find what it is that I'm looking for. And getting into the habit of practicing being inspired, instead of sitting around waiting for inspiration to strike or even hunting for it, we're going to farm our inspirations. So, if this is really hitting the spot for you and you're like, I want a fresh start, I'm at a stage where I've followed a load of technique tutorials. I've even had a go at making my own style and I've really got somewhere with it. But I'm wondering, what more could there be for me as an artist? Then I'd love to hear from you. So you can find my calendar link down beneath the video. See when there's a free slot, book a call, we can have a chat. So, till next week, bye for now.